Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Cody here doing something I've been wanting to do for a while, and so I'm very excited about this video. Just a disclaimer before we even start this video today, my Spanish is not super amazing, even though I've lived here in South Central Texas for a couple years now. Still getting better at my pronunciation, so all my native Spanish speakers, please bear patience with me on this video today, but I'm doing something I'm extremely excited about. We are going to be ranking all 85 Copa de la Diversión rebrands for minor league baseball. I gotta preface this video by starting off with just talking about what Copa is exactly. Since 2017, minor league baseball has made an incredible effort to embrace the Hispanic and Latino cultures that have for centuries remained at the heart of the sport. Whether it be the once-in-a-generation players throughout the game, or the iconic cities and stadiums that house their careers, Hispanic and Latino culture has been grounded in baseball history since the game began. Through an initiative known as the Copa de la Diversión, minor league baseball has attempted to promote the sport and connect its teams to their respective Hispanic and Latino communities. The Copa de la Diversión initiative, oftentimes shortened to simply Copa, has grown to an impressive 85 teams as of the making of this video, encompassing 70% of the existing 120 minor league teams across the United States. Teams rebrand several times throughout the season, using identities that reflect Hispanic and Latino values or cultural icons. At its core, Copa rebrands are designed to be fun and enriching. So Copa de la Diversión is something I'm very passionate about. It is, in my opinion, one of the greatest community engagement projects in professional sports. I absolutely love this initiative. I did want to mention a couple things though. With Copa, it's not a full season rebrand, which is kind of a common misconception. So I've been working for the San Antonio Missions here for a few seasons, and I get this question a lot of the times because I'll go to work wearing sometimes my chanclas gear, which is what I'm wearing today. While the Flying Chanclas is the same as the San Antonio Missions, it is not a full season rebrand. I love that more and more people are asking about this, noticing it. It just shows how strong the Copa initiative has been and its effect on the community at large, even for friends of mine here around town that don't necessarily care about Missions baseball or minor league baseball in general, still love the Chanclas gear and will represent it. And I think that's so cool. Got with me my Chanclas bobblehead today, actually, keeping me company. Please understand that we will almost certainly not see the Flying Chanclas on today's list, because this is only part one of 85 teams, and my bias may be showing here, but the Flying Chanclas have one of the best Copa identities in all of minor league baseball. So it is not a full season rebrand, and the amount of times that a minor league team chooses to rebrand with their Copa identity will kind of depend on the team. For example, with the Missions, they rebrand as the Flying Chanclas every Thursday home game. So every Thursday on the schedule, you can expect to see the Chanclas out in their full uniform. But just because the Missions have rebranded as the Chanclas for a game doesn't necessarily mean that the visiting team coming in will use their Copa identity if they have one. So I know for many teams, Copa night is kind of like special, unique event nights throughout the season. They might do it maybe 4, 5, or 6 times throughout the season, not necessarily once every week. So the amount of times that a team rebrands really is just up to the actual team themselves. But let's go ahead and mention how I plan on ranking these, because there's a lot of factors at play. I've narrowed it down to a solid 5 things that I want to focus on and discuss. So number 1 for me is just the general aesthetic and overall design of the logos. We're just going to be focused primarily on the logo itself and how good the design is, the colors, just everything about it. You know, looking at just from a design perspective. With that in mind, I'm not a graphic designer by any means, so my opinions are going to be different than people that are paid professionally to do these things. Full disclosure. Number 2, I'm going to be considering the originality and the uniqueness of the team name itself. There's a lot of fantastic team names and creativity with the Copa, and I love that so much, so we're going to be focused on the originality and the uniqueness of those team names. Third thing I'm going to look at is the ties of the Copa identity to its immediate community or region. That'll become a little bit more clear as we start looking at these. Number 4, kind of similar vein, we're going to be looking at the ties of the Copa identity to its original team name. Again, this will make more sense here in a little bit, so just kind of bear with me on this. The 5th and final thing that we're going to be considering here is my own personal subjective opinion. Everyone's going to have a different opinion on these things, so you know, we're talking about just like my own personal things that I enjoy for logos or things that I appreciate more. You could just call this my own personal bias if you want, because that's kind of what it boils down to. That said, we're going to go ahead and get started with this at number 85, and that is going to give us the Tortugas de Daytona. You might be looking at this and going, like, how in the world can this be the worst? Because this is so good. This is so good for what it is. My thing is, though, this truly is not a Copa rebrand. This is an exact copy of the Daytona Tortugas logo. So I don't really know how this even factors in to a Copa redesign, because it shouldn't, in my opinion, even count. This is just like an exact copy of the Daytona Tortugas. And don't get me wrong, that logo is fantastic. Like, this looks incredible. You know, who could argue or deny that? But my thing is, like, it's not really a Copa design because it's just a copy paste of the Daytona Tortugas, and this is super lazy, and I don't know how this even counts, so it had to come dead last, even though this logo is pretty awesome. All right, next up we've got the Montañas de Chattanooga for the Chattanooga Lookouts. This one is legitimately hard for me to look at, and it's nearly an exact copy of the Chattanooga Lookouts logo, which is kind of a polarizing logo actually for a lot of reasons. But the only thing that's different here is that they just changed the font, but it just has a green instead of a red. It's very hard to look at, and there's not a whole lot that has changed here. I do like the idea of using mountains, like, so it's montañas. Like, I'm from Montana, so I respect and appreciate that. I know Chattanooga is a very beautiful, aesthetically pleasing ballpark that's surrounded by the mountains there. I just don't think that they did much to change this logo with the Copa identity. It could be done a little bit better. Next up, we've got the Temblores de Rancho Cucamonga. The Rancho Cucamonga Quakes. This kind of, again, going back to what I've already said, this logo looks fantastic. It truly does. It's really just the exact same thing as their original logo, same fonts and all. They just changed from Quakes to Temblores, which from what I understand just means the same thing. It's just like earthquake in Spanish. So no change to the team name, really no change to the logo at all. It just feels like a cheap cop-out, so that's why it's so high up on this list. Next up, we've got the Peoria en el Rio, which truly is like the first original logo, if I can say that. This is kind of like the first real logo that we've seen, and it's not great. It is if you appreciate the 80s vaporwave aesthetic that matches, you know, the little Dixie cups that you got from the dentist office when you were a kid. So that's all well and good. It just kind of has like this 80s travel brochure vibe going on to it. So I did read that the name of this team mimics a festival of the same name in the city of Peoria. So that's kind of cool. I think I really respect that's a cool way to tie in, you know, the team name to a fiesta event that the city does every year. I will say that is a cool community tie-in, so big props to that. But again, first thing we're looking at overall is the aesthetic and the design, which this is not great at all. Next up, we've got the Avocados Luchadores de Down East. So there's actually a total of 6 Lucha Libre motifs that we'll see as we're doing these Copa identities, which obviously I'm a big fan of Lucha Libre wrestling. I have a luchador tattoo on my arm. But this for sure is probably the weakest of the 6 that we're going to see total throughout this whole 85 ranking. So Lucha Libre is the professional wrestling of Mexico. So you see like the guys, the luchador wrestlers with their masks on. And that's what this avocado luchador has. He's got his mask and he looks really cool. Truth be told, I like his, you know, the bat over the shoulder, always into that look. But the thing is, this looks like a food brand logo. Like the A in avocado is so big, and I don't know why. Like that avocado luchador himself is so tiny. And I don't understand. I want to see more of him and less of the A or the word avocado. I don't care about that. Who does? Like we want to see the luchador because he's the avocado luchador, you know? He's the avocado wrestler. And we want to see him and not the A in the food, my opinion. I think there's a lot more that they could have done with this. I do like the idea of an avocado wrestler though. It's just funny to me. I love avocados as much as I love wrestlers. Next up, we've got the Corazones de Reno. Okay, so what I'm about to say is something I could mention several times over throughout this ranking. And so I don't want to talk about it a whole lot, but I've mentioned this before on this channel. I am not a big fan of logos that are like, I feel like are 2 pieces. So you have like this, you know, heart up at the top, which the team name is Hearts, so that should be the focus, with the peppers and the baseball and all that. And that looks pretty good. But then you've got like a script down here at the bottom that just has the team name with the sombrero on top of the C, which I don't think really ties into any of the other elements here. So it feels like a cheap kind of cop-out, just throwing that on top of the C and calling it a day. But you've got this top-down logo element thing going on, and you've got this text here on the bottom. So it feels like 2 pieces that are kind of competing for your attention. I don't know what to look at first, and I don't find either of those things very interesting or exciting. With a big market like Reno for being a AAA team, I think this is the first AAA team we've seen on this list so far. I do like the name Corazones, but I don't necessarily like their execution with it, and this top-down bit is something that we'll see a few times over, so I don't want to spend too much time talking about that, but that really does take away from this. Next up, we've got the Alces de Maine. Alces literally just translates to moose, so if it's not clear to see, This is supposed to be a moose antler, and it took me forever to see that, because to me this just has the texture of like melted cheese, and I don't really see the antler. I do now because I've spent enough time looking at this, but it's kind of difficult to see at first. You know, you think of Maine, you think of moose, so the Portland Sea Dogs become the moose. So I appreciate that like connection to its to its region, but the colors aren't really great here, and again the texture, it doesn't look like an antler to me. It looks like melted cheese. Kind of makes me hungry. Okay, next up we've got the Los Chivos de Hartford. So this literally translates to the goats de Hartford. You know, going from the yard goats to the goats is not super inspiring by any stretch. So I will say that I do like certain elements of this, including, first of all, the colors look fantastic. And I really enjoy the fonts all across here. And even just like the goat skull is super fun, and I really enjoy that. It kind of fills in where the V should be for Chivos, which is, it doesn't really feel like a V, so it kind of just sort of stands alone in that regard. It's just like is a skull with some lettering on either side. So there's a lot to like about this, but my big thing is, truth be told, this just looks like the logo for a steakhouse, right? Like, tell me I'm wrong. I live in Texas. I see steakhouses left and right. This looks like a steakhouse to me. Hey babe, I'm hungry. Where do you want to go tonight? Oh, let's go somewhere fancy. Let's go to Los Chivos, you know, and get a porterhouse. You know, that's what this looks like. I can't unsee it. I'm sorry. I can't get over that steakhouse vibe. All right, next up we've got the Picantes de Lake County. This logo is okay, but the actual mascot himself, the spicy pepper there, doesn't really look particularly tough or cute. It kind of makes the mistake of being neither, which again we've seen before, and we'll probably see again a couple times throughout this ranking. It kind of has like a clip art vibe with like a super thick outside border. I really do appreciate the layered look and the really nice use of colors. So overall, it's not bad, just far from one of my favorites. Okay, next up we've got the Toros de Visalia for the Visalia Rawhide. First of all, I've always really appreciated the name Rawhide for Visalia. So they've kind of gone with something similar, going with the bulls. I would expect the bull to look a little bit more intimidating. This kind of looks like a dairy cow to me. It's kind of supposed to have like what I believe to be like a smug expression. It comes across looking as more like confused than anything else. This actually looks exactly like Goofy's girlfriend Clarabelle cow. A little throwback reference there to cartoon veterans. Not bad. Next up, we've got the Veneros de Tri-City. Now this logo is okay. I really like the colors, I'll say that. Kind of like a fun, cartoony looking dude. He kind of gives me more of a vibe of, let's say like a candy or a mascot theme rather than an actual like baseball theme. I've been to that part of Washington a few times. They make excellent wine. This is not part of that, I'll say that, because this is just all right. So I really do appreciate the ties to like that area of Washington with the winemaking agricultural area, Washington State. Very cool. This is actually the first of several alcohol themed logos that we're going to see. So bottoms up, cheers to that. Which actually segues nicely into the Cocos Locos de Rochester. So this is named after a rum drink of the same name, which I've never had before. So I don't have that with me now, so you know what?
Why is the rum gone?
One, because it is a vile drink that turns even the most respectable men into complete scoundrels. Two, that signal is over 1,000 feet high. The entire Royal Navy is out looking for me. Do you really think that there is even the slightest chance that they won't see it?
But why is the rum gone?
Keep going with the wine theme, because why not? I really don't like this blue and red cross pattern. It just clashes. This looks like a rum stand in a resort town, and it doesn't really resemble baseball in any way, but it is fun. Like, the logo is fun. That's what it's supposed to be. That's the whole idea behind Copa, is that it's supposed to be fun, and this logo is fun. I just don't see the connection to baseball or the city of Rochester in any way. Oh, bam. Next up, the Cielo Azul de Oklahoma City for the Oklahoma City Dodgers. Now this directly translates to blue sky, so this is the blue sky of Oklahoma City, and it's a super text-based logo, which again are not really my favorite, but this is actually extremely well done. I love the font on this, and the colors are great. It said on the description that it's supposed to represent the blue skies and the red dirt of Oklahoma. I'm not, super sure how hard that hit the mark, but it seems to be all right. But again, the text is great. It does kind of have these feathers coming off, and I believe that might add a nod to the Native American heritage there in Oklahoma. Whether that was intentional or not, I think it's great. Of like the text-based logos that we've seen or will see, this is among my favorite for sure. But here's another text-based logo coming up, the Familia de Tacoma for the Tacoma family. Now, I've been to a Rainiers game before. They're a lot of fun. I might go to one here in a few months when I'm in Seattle. Not my favorite style. Feels somewhat lazy, but the colors here are fantastic. the actual logo looks great, and it even matches the Rainier's like official font. I do appreciate that. Again, like we were talking at the beginning, like how things tie back to the actual team. I'm into that. They call themselves the Familia because I almost said Mariners. Excuse me. That's the wine talking. The Rainiers have this whole "we are family" thing going on. I got to see that firsthand when I went to a game with my buddy Ethan. Shout out Ethan. So we are for like Rainier. So I do like that. You know, going with like kind of one of their rally cries or whatever, like their big marketing thing. So they decided to be the Familia based on the "we are family" vibe motif that they have there at the ballpark. So big props to that. I'm into that. Super cool logo, actually. Next up, we've got the Cinco Estaciones de Cedar Rapids. So this literally translates to 5 seasons. When I first read the description for like what this meant, I honestly thought this was one of the lamest sounding things on this list for sure. But actually, after doing more research, I was like, this is actually low-key pretty sick. This has adapted the Cedar Rapids, like the city of Cedar Rapids identity of the City of 5 Seasons, complete with this sculpture in downtown. It comes from the idea, reading into this, that Cedar Rapids, the lifestyle there, offers extra time to relax and enjoy life. So you've got the spring, summer, autumn, and winter, and that 5th season being relaxation time to enjoy all the seasons. So there's 5 seasons of Cedar Rapids, which is pretty neat, actually. My big thing is, like, again, on the description, so it says spring, summer, autumn, and winter, and fun as the 5 seasons. Which, like, okay, like, we're, like, really hitting corny territories here, and that's not even an Iowa joke. This rebrand has straight up borrowed the sort of branding identity of the city of Cedar Rapids, and I really like that. It actually makes me appreciate the logo more, because when I first read this, I was like, wow, this is so lame, but this is actually super cool. So Cedar Rapids pulled a 180 on me and made a believer out of me, so I'm into the 5 seasons. All right, next up we've got the Perro Calientes de Akron for the Akron Rubber Ducks. They have decided to rebrand as the Hot Dogs, and you know what? I am here for it. Cheers to you, Akron. My all-time favorite ballpark snack. It's not even close. And working for the Missions has given me like a body by hot dogs, so I really appreciate it. I knew it was a matter of time before we were going to see a team with the Hot Dogs name. I feel like I'm ranking this higher just because of how biased I am by the name Hot Dog, because I love hot dogs, but this logo I'm not so crazy about. It's very cartoonish, has almost no personality, very goofy looking. Again, not cute, not tough, not either. We've gone from the Rubber Ducks, which really represented the city of Akron very well because it was like a big rubber city. There was like a big stadium there that they called the Rubber Bowl. So the Rubber Ducks was like a fitting name, although it was weird. But to go to the Hot Dogs, it's like, I feel like the missed opportunity, could have done something a little better. So what's the connection? I love his details of the pepper necklace, and the hot dog poker as like a charging spear is hilarious. And so overall, very well done. This one's for you, Akron. Have good, clean fun. We'll wash that down with some vino. That's pretty good. Hot dogs and wine at 12 in the afternoon. Why not? All right, next up we've got the margaritas de El Paso. And believe it or not, I don't have any margaritas on me.
But why is the
margaritas
gone?
Time for some more wine. Again, I don't know what it is about making these like food or drink themed Copa rebrands, but this looks like a margarita branded restaurant. It looks like a Margaritaville or something. I don't know, I don't know why we can't make these without having them look like restaurants. Like margaritas originate from the El Paso area going back to like the 1940s. So for a text-based logo, it's actually very fun and it's a fitting name. And I love that like the umbrella has like a baseball bat part of it. So for like being text themed and also alcohol themed, it actually has a baseball tie. So big props to them. That's why they're a little bit higher than some of these other ones. Looks like a fun place to drink at. So, cool. I'm here for it. Next up, we've got the Congueras de Syracuse. So this translates to like drums or congas specifically. I do like the drum design a lot. And again, we see like a text-based theme here, but like it does have the drums incorporated in it. That look really fun. They don't super look like O's. So it's a little hard to read at first, but the like symmetry here is very, very nice. I would have assumed that a Oakland Athletics affiliate would use the drums, right? Like that seems like a no-brainer because of like the drummers over there in the outfield for the Coliseum. That's Oakland's last dive bar. Feels like a big swing and a miss that like a Oakland affiliate didn't get this. But overall, I think this is really fun. The colors are great. And I really love the font choice for no reason at all. It's just nice. Next up, we've got the Los Huepas. This is an interesting one. So Huepa is just a universal term for like any positive moment. So if something exciting happens, you say like Huepa, grand slam. It doesn't even have to be baseball related. Like, hey dad, I got a girlfriend. Like, wait, son. So I love the name and the story behind it. It alliterates nicely with the city, so I'm here for that. I also love that it's like a rocket, super cartoony, all right? And I'm not like super in love with logos that have that cartoony aspect to it. Like, what's with his arms coming out of it? They look weird. I don't know, his arms look a little off. And those be some thick lines on this logo as well. I'm not super into that, but I love the firework motif, and the keeping of the original team script looks really nice. So where it says Wepa, that is the actual like script that they use for the Red Sox here. So I really like that. And so it has like some very cool ties, very cool team name, just not super well done in its execution in my super biased opinion. For our next team up, the Cervezas de Durham. So this comes after it's linked to the Durham Brew Company, which is the only in-stadium brewery in minor league baseball. Big shout out to that. I've been to Durham, haven't seen a game yet. Big on my list. These thick lines are back at it again. I don't like these thick lines or these cartoony expressions. They're just derpy and expressionless. You know, we've seen this a number of times now. This is such a wasted opportunity for such a great name, but you know, some good things here. It is kind of a cool logo. I like the lime on the can. The colors are terrific all around. So very cool there. Just again with these like thick lines, goofy cartoony expressions. This is by far my favorite alcoholic themed one that we've looked at so far. So I'm enjoy this. All right, I'm getting pretty hungry. So thankfully next up we have the Chicharrones de Colombia. Something to go along with my Perro Caliente. Now the name and the design are great on this, but that lime green is a little hard to look at. Font looks a little squished, and the text is kind of hard to read somewhat. This looks like every line cook's tattoo, literally ever. I think South Carolina, I think this, you know, being in the South, I absolutely think of barbecue, and like, I've attracted Marty over here, you see that? Even Marty wants in on the chicharrones. Again, South Carolina, being in the South, I think barbecue is a great name. Not my favorite logo in this, but it's very fun, and I just freaking love chicharrones, man. Well, here we go, I'm washing that down. And now we got the Soñadores de Hillsborough. So we've gone from the Hillsborough Hops to the Hillsborough Dreamers. I guess Durham beat them out for the rights to the beer one. That would have been a much more fitting one. This logo is very busy. The wolf is too small to really see anything. Beautiful, vibrant colors, though. Super, super fun there. But I want to see more of the wolf. It should be the coolest, most interesting feature, and it's just so small by comparison to everything else. I do love that the wolf appears to be resting on the text, whether that was intentional or not. I feel like it probably was. That's a really nice touch, but I just want to see more of the wolf. You know, we're all dreamers out here. A man can dream. A man wants to see some wolves, and you know, that's what I want. All right, next up, we've got the Cazadores de Tormentes de Omaha. So this literally translates to Storm Chasers, which is what the Omaha team is. So it's a direct translation to the team name. Kind of loses me there a little bit. I actually like this logo better than the original logo. Sorry about that. I've always thought like their goofy tornado guy with the bat coming through as like a nose looks way too dorky for a AAA team. It is a great use of the original team logo incorporation, so it kind of has this O with a lightning bolt going through, and this has that with this guy who looks super tough and intimidating of the red eye. But I don't really like any of the other colors. Like this brown is kind of a little muddy looking, so it's not my favorite use of colors of all time, and it's just a direct translation to the original team name. But I love that they've incorporated some of their original like logo elements to it. That's super fun, and overall this is well done. Next up, the Ranas de Rio. So the River Frogs of Greenville. River Frog comes from the team's mascots and from the Reeder River running through the city of Greenville. Very fun tie-ins there to the original team and the city of Greenville. The colors here are so fun, and the design is fantastic. He's got the face of a baseball. He's got like the big throat, like he's about to rib it. So his face, his face is a baseball. It's all big and round. His legs are bats. Very, very, very fun. His eyes are slightly tough to see for me. There's kind of a weird sort of like curvy quirk thing going on. I'm not super sure what that's all about. Overall, not a lot to complain about on this, though. It's a lot of fun. Next up, we've got the Brooklyn Jefes, so the bosses. So you've got the Brooklyn Bridge forming a crown on this logo, all in one beautiful elemental piece. The colors work extremely well here. I'm super into them. And this logo has like an air of like attitude and kind of boldness. So like, and that was the intention too with the, giving it the name Bosses, and this kind of like, hey, I'm from Brooklyn, I'm tough, I'm walking here, I'm drinking my wine over here. It has that sort of attitude to it. It's well executed. That was 100% intentional, and it's very well done. Props to Brooklyn. Next up, we've got the Yakumamas de Asheville. When I'm talking about ranking these logos based on some of their ties to their community or the region, this is one of the coolest examples of that by far. According to the lore, a 100-foot Yakumama, which is a snake-like creature known as the Mother of Water, lurks in the waters of both the Amazon River and Western North Carolina, of all places. This is according to legend. So great name. Spooky, lore, creepy. I'm into it. Oh, I love everything about that. The snake does look a bit derpy in his expression. He could be a little bit tougher, but I love that they put the snake in a water droplet. And sitting behind the text, so that better tells the story of like, this is a water snake. So very fun, subtle touch there. I want to like this so much more than I do. I just feel like that snake is just a little too derpy for me. But overall, damn, this is cool. All right, coming up next, we've got the Diamantes de Arkansas for the Arkansas Travelers. So this translates to diamonds, but it also kind of represents like the name of a local legend, according to the lore here. Again, I love like lore-y sort of cool folklore kind of things. But there was a local legend who would frequently visit the diamond mines near Hot Springs, Arkansas, before he mysteriously vanished. This is named after the gentleman Diamantes, who became somewhat of a local legend during like the mining heyday for diamonds in Arkansas. And Arkansas is the natural state. It's a beautiful state. People don't give it credit for it. There's a freaking diamond in the license plate. A very cool little nod towards that. And the colors and the design of Diamantes are super fun. Works so well. Love his mustache and sombrero. I'm a huge Arkansas Travelers fan, so this is my bias coming into play, but this is a fantastic logo all around. All right, and now that I've got the Chonkless hat back on, I think we're about ready to wrap this up for day one. If you enjoyed this, be sure and like and subscribe. Stay updated. That way you can see as soon as I post parts 2 and 3. There is going to be a total of 3 parts to this, and hope you look forward to watching them. Appreciate you guys. Let me know which ones are your favorite so far. Let me know what you think should be ranking among my top 10, because there are some beautiful designs for Copa. So I'm open to all input. Appreciate you guys as always. See you in part 2.